What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Film Room. In this video, we're going to take a look at the early season game between Duke and Kansas and specifically talk about how Duke masterfully cut all over the court the entire game, which ultimately led to a win, but some really good offense that we can learn from. And I'm going to break down in this video 3 different areas of the game where you can become better at cutting. The first one we're going to look at is how they started the game, and that's with intentional play calling. So the first play that they ran was this action where they threw the ball to the 5-man, and then they faked a dribble handoff, and as that was happening, they set a rip screen or a back screen for the 4, and as soon as they recognized that there wasn't going to be a tag or help, they knew that they could throw the ball to Cameron Boozer for an easy bucket. And something that I like about Jon Scheyer is that he runs these good actions multiple times throughout the game. So here late in the second half, you can see there's the fake dribble handoff in the back screen, and if this ball would have been on time, it probably would have resulted in the same layup, but the ball was thrown a little bit too late, and then they had to get back into their offensive flow, and they do a great job of getting this lob off of the tight curl and the big rolling to the basket. And then 1 minute later, they went back to the exact same action in a 3-point game. They execute it to perfection. This time they hit Cam Boozer on the cut, and he ends up getting a bucket late in this game when they really needed it. This is a fantastic action and a great example of good cutting. Now, if you saw my Instagram page, you saw that I already posted about this clip, but I want to talk about this action that they ran as well multiple times throughout the game. They start by running this action where you have a zipper screen to get their shooter over to the wing, and then they're going to throw it to their 5-man to get into this 5-out look. From here, the 5 can pick either side to go to, but what they're going to do is run a flare screen on one of the sides, and as soon as they get done with that, it goes straight into a pin down, and all of this is false motion trying to get this slip for the guy setting the pin down. And what's wild is they've been running this play since last year, so it's not like teams don't know that they're going to do it, so how are they continuing to get open shots off of this action? And I think the answer is because of personnel and the fact that they're running 2 concepts back to back. Because when the 5-man catches the ball, they set a flare screen for Isaiah Evans, who is one of the best shooters in the ACC, and now the defense has to decide, are we going to switch or are we going to stay matched up? But as soon as they get done getting through that, now there's a pin down happening, and all this action needs to do is get this defender to worry about Isaiah coming off that pin down, and that's what opens up the slip. But the thing I love about this play is that even after a bad pass, Duke recognizes they got 2 people on the ball, they have great spacing opposite, and they kick it out and go one more for a rhythm catch and shoot 3. So ultimately what this action is taking advantage of, and it's something that we're going to break down a little bit further, is that Duke is very good at cutting off of off-ball screens. So anytime that they get into these wide pin downs on the perimeter, there's always an opportunity for a potential slip based on how the defense guards them. And if it's not open, they just flow right into the next action. So here you get another pin down on the other side, and as they try and fight through this down screen, Cam recognizes it and just rejects to the bucket, and that's what gets him open on the slip. So this is something that anyone can implement into their offensive system. You just have to set off-ball screens, and then you have to get good at reading your defender and how they're guarding it. So here's a great possession to show you an example. As they go to get into this wide pin down, you're going to see that the defender is standing on the top side because he doesn't want Isaiah to come off the down screen and get open. So instead of trying to fight through that, he just accepts what the defense is doing, he rejects it, and that's how he gets this back cut. So think about your offensive system and ask yourself if it allows for opportunities like this. Now, the second area that we're going to look at is off of post fires or double teams when the ball gets thrown into the post. Basketball at its simplest form is just a game of numbers. It's can you gain an advantage against the defense and then capitalize on the numbers. And because Cam Boozer is so good in the post, Kansas started the game by double teaming him when he caught it. And as soon as they decided to do that, look at the numbers on the backside. He's matched up here, he's matched up here, and now this defender is responsible for guarding 2 people, and this is where Duke understands that when you have a 2-on-1 situation, somebody needs to cut to the basket. And for the majority of the night, this was the story of the game. Boozer would catch the ball in the post, and then Kansas would send their 5-man to double team, and they would have that exact same 2-on-1 issue with somebody getting to the basket on a cut. And this is where you can start getting into the chess match that happens on the floor. When the ball gets thrown into the post and Kansas double teams, the obvious response is for him to cut to the basket, but Kansas understands that as well, so they full rotate over to take that away, and that's what opens up Sarr in the corner with the opportunity to cut off of the rotation. And watch how frustrated and disappointed Duke is when this turns into a turnover, because they knew they had a really good offensive action that they just didn't execute on. I'm going to let you see that clip one more time in slow motion so that you can see how quickly Duke reacts to Kansas's rotation. Now, the other aspect of cutting that I want you to see from these clips is that cutting has gravity. And what I mean by that is every time you cut, you're not necessarily going to get the ball, but what you will do is pull defenders towards you because everybody is worried about that being open, and that opens up opportunities for the ball to get swung to the perimeter, which leads to long closeouts for the defense, and typically long closeouts are easy to drive past, which can create good offense. So watch the domino effect of this possession. The ball's going to get thrown into the 5-man on the block, and Kansas is going to double team. As soon as they do, you get the cut from Boozer, which pulls gravity towards the paint. That leads to an easy kick out to the perimeter, and now the defense is full rotating and scrambling, which leads to a rhythm catch and shoot 3. And the point I want to make here is that you can't get caught up on whether the ball goes in or out. The goal of offense is to get good shots from the guys you want shooting it in the spots that you want them shooting it in. And Duke's offense was so effective that early in the second half, what you'll notice is that Kansas stopped firing or double teaming on Boozer because they realized that by getting into rotations, Duke was getting easy shots, and so guys just started staying home and living with the results of Boozer going one-on-one. Now, the last aspect of cutting that we're going to look at is probably my favorite, and that's organic opportunities. So as Foster comes down and gets to the middle of the paint, I want you to pay attention to this matchup here in the corner, and then we'll talk about it. Now, even though there wasn't a cut on this possession, I want you to pay attention to the opportunity. As soon as this defender is caught looking at the ball and trying to deny the pass to the corner, that opens up this opportunity for the corner man to cut to the basket, and we're going to talk a lot about that in the rest of this video. The thing that separates good teams from great teams at almost every level is that there is an understanding that on dribble penetration, it is natural for defenders to get caught staring at the guy dribbling. And that means that if you're off the basketball, you need to look for opportunities to cut behind your matchup when they're not paying attention to you. And I would argue that this is the aspect of cutting that pulls everything together and makes you a great cutting team, because predetermined cuts are only going to get you open so often. Notice here that Foster recognizes that his defender is not paying attention to him as they're looking at the guy in the post, and so he cuts, it pulls gravity, and on the kick out and the drive from Boozer, this is an opportunity for Sarr to back cut right behind his man in the same situation that we just looked at, but he didn't take advantage of it. So a tip for your players who are off the ball is that they need to do what they can to try and get below their matchup and keep their eyes on their defender's head. Because on this drive, you already have a defender who gets caught staring at the ball, but because Boozer isn't standing in the deep corner and is up here on the wing, if he did decide to cut, it probably wouldn't have been open because his defender was able to quickly turn his head and locate him because he wasn't deep enough. So this third aspect of cutting is absolutely the most difficult, but it's the most rewarding and probably the most effective because it takes so much decision making by multiple people to make this work. Here's a perfect example. When Boozer catches this short roll, Foster has a decision whether he's going to cut to the basket or stay at the three-point line for a catch and shoot 3. And Boozer has to make the right decision in a split second. And it's easy to watch this clip and know that that was the right decision, but I'm sure that on this possession that we watched earlier, both of them thought that they were making the right decision as well. This is a difficult thing to do. So this is what it can look like when you combine all three of these aspects and your team is all on the same page. Here, Duke is running that action with the flare screen, and all the screener's trying to do is see if he can slip inside of his matchup for a bucket, and even though he doesn't get it, they continue to move into their next action. And on this ball screen, they hit the short roll and know that they're going to get a rotation, which means there's two people guarding one, and so on this backside, you have one player guarding two, and Boozer naturally cuts to the basket to take advantage of it. Even though it wasn't open, they go into a post touch. Now you're going to get that double team, and on the backside, you get that same 2-on-1, and you get a perfectly timed cut with the double team, and this is perfect basketball. So if you stuck around until now, I have a surprise for you. I just hit 75,000 subs on YouTube, and I cannot say thank you enough. So I want to give away 5 free copies of my ebook, The Gap Theory. All you have to do is be subscribed and share one thing in the comments that you're thankful for, and I'll pick the 5 winners on December 1st. Thank you guys so much for coming through. We'll see you next time in the film room.